We're getting started now. Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Um, Welcome to another review of what is going on in the market this week. And coming up, we have seen basically we've been in buy the dip mode. This week, y'all can see me because I'm doing a pre-recorded video. I'm trying this new chroma key thing, so y'all gotta excuse like the picture. Y'all know this is a growth channel, so y'all seeing me grow with my editing and stuff like that. Um, Today we don't have the birds. We do have the rain though, so it's going to be a little bit quieter. Anyway, so getting started, let us look at, of course, the economic events that we have happening this week. So, of course, on Monday there isn't much, which usually there isn't. And then on Tuesday, that's when we start with the data drop. So on Tuesday, we have CPI for May. Then on Wednesday, we have PPI for May. And on Wednesday, we also have the interest rate decision, and we have FOMC, and we have Powell speaking at 2:30. So you guys know, the past few data sessions, the market has kind of really brushed off data and hasn't really like turned in any direction or anything. They're still buying the dips. Here's what I do know. I do know that the market is expecting the Feds to pause on Wednesday. So if that doesn't happen, we could possibly see a turn. If that doesn't happen, we could possibly see it continue to move up. Either way, this is something that we do want to be aware of. We also know that with that type of data, things can be volatile, especially when you're trying to swing things, because of this data coming out before the market opens. And then we know that on Wednesday, just trading with Powell speaking can be pretty volatile as well, depending on what he says. So then, of course, if he says, oh, we're still continuing to look at data, we have jobless claims on Thursday. I don't think there's anything on Friday. Double check. Michigan consumer sentiment. I don't think that'll really do much. I mean, it's at 10 o'clock, so it'll be during the market hours. But basically, we have a pretty heavy data week that we do want to be aware of. So, all right, going on to our stuff. Sorry, I'm not ready here, y'all. Okay, so looking at the VIX so far on the month. So now we are 11 days into the month. So we have finally uncoupled. And most things are giving us a solid direction. We do know that these things can change. But we do know, we want to look for things that have full time frame continuity or are close to it, and we can trade it back into full time frame continuity. So, so far the VIX is still going down. Like we said, it triggered the three up, two down reversal. And it's kind of been moving a little slow, even though the market has been moving up. If you think about it, the market has also been kind of struggling to move up. So that's why we have this. So 1384, we're sitting at this next support. And then we have the bottom of this broadening formation at $12 we can still get to. So keep that in mind. VIX has been in a downtrend, I mean, since this pop, basically. This back in, 2020. It's been making lower highs. So, it'll pop, but then it's still being shorted. So, that's the VIX. Looking at the dollar had finally had a few good weeks, and now it's having a resting week. If you look at it, it almost looks like a W here. So, interesting to see which way this decides to go. It could definitely do that too. Just kind of how like what it did here. Up, down, up, down. My strong support for it is going to be this 100. Right around 101, between 101 and 189. That's pretty much a strong support. But if it does decide to come down, it can definitely do that. You see it kind of rejected here at these EMAs, and they're almost kind of turning. So interesting to see what it does. And it's right at its 200, but it's below. So it fell below. So will it recover and get back above it, or is this going to be a head and shoulders and it's going to come on down? Just have to see what it does. Looking at the NASDAQ, we had my broad information is like old. That's really interesting. That just must have been wrong. I'm surprised I had that there. That was supposed to be that one. So that's old. Gonna move this one up here. Yeah, I know I like to color code them. So that's the monthly, and I really don't like this. We're gonna make this a bigger megaphone. Because, I mean, basically, this is the broad information we're in. We were in this one, this smaller one. We broke above. And it's still above it. So unless it breaks back through it, then, I'll redraw that. But looking at it on the month, it still has room to go. 15,120-ish will be the next target to the upside. And then it may come try to take out these highs. So this will be my next target, though. This 15,270. They may want to take these folks out here. So looking at it on the week, it's really a doji week, an indecision week, kind of a resting week. So this week actually may decide if it decides to continue to the upside to take out these targets, or if we reverse and actually get some relief. Because if you look at it, we got a PMG on the week. So it could definitely take out all of these targets if it reverses. So keep that in mind. If we see data that the market doesn't like this week, it needs to reverse around 14,290, and then it may start trying to take out some of these targets. All right, so we got a weekly PMG on the NASDAQ that could definitely happen. We also have what looks like a double top almost here. Almost a triple top, but this didn't hit it. But almost a double top here, and then we got a shooter. So really interesting to see what happens with the NASDAQ next week. If it can continue to bust out and we continue on this buy the dip mode, or if we try to turn around and take out some of those PMG targets. My first real target will be this gap here, gap fill here on the daily. All right, because if you look at it, really hasn't broken this 20 in a long time, probably since here. And it hasn't tested this 50 since March. So it might want to. That will actually be a nice good, because if we look at it on the week, even if it did decide to come out and take out some of these targets, it would still be in its bullish overall long-term move up. We've made higher highs, we've made lower lows. We would really need to take out this 12,740 to really reverse and say that, all right, we may be making a new low, that type of thing. So again, this could also rest for another week and make a head before it decides to come down. But we do want to be aware of this PMG. But do know we do have, well, except for on the time frame continuity is kind of in conflict here. So it will turn the month red at 14,260, which I believe, yes. So if it reverses, breaks this area right here, starts to come on down, it's going to turn the month red. We could target this gap fill and maybe those PMGs. So, but otherwise, it could for sure push and then put us right back into full time frame continuity and keep going to the upside. So, but we need some rest here. We definitely need a little bit of relief. This could be the red week that we're looking for. So the Dow is still stuck. Guys, we've been talking about this for a while. This is not really something that you try to trade unless you know how to trade the range. This is the range. Now we do still have an inverted head and shoulders here on the daily that's supported here at this 325. But the box is basically between 325 and about 345-ish. So it's just really bouncing in that range. You really want to see it break either out of that range to the upside or below. Otherwise, it's just really just chopping in here. It's not really doing much. But we are above our 200, so we know that it is still a bullish sign. And we still have these, still looking like the inverted head and shoulders. It's just not doing a whole lot. So that is the Dow. IWM. IWM had a good couple of weeks the past 2 weeks. It has finally broken out of this little range that it was in, but I wanted to show you guys this on the monthly to understand that even though we finally broke this little range because we were looking for that gap fill at 181, we're still in this chop area. Like, this is an area just hasn't done much of. So to finish the 3-2 up, we're looking for about 192. Birds are back, even with the rain. We're looking for a 192 to the upside if it continues to have strength. However, we see that it did reject right here and came back in. So looking to see, I mean, like again, we finally broke out of this range right here. So now we're coming up into this range right here and just want to see if we can either break above it and finally make some moves to the upside or what it's going to do. Last week we were just saying as long as it didn't come back into this chop area, we should still be good. However, I do want you to note that if you look, we was talking about it back here, it made a good move on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then now it's starting to chop. But it's in this area right here. So that's what happened. It just made a move up to here, and then now it's chopping. So we could have some correction, which actually would be good because it did. If you look at it here on the daily, we've been chopping. We finally, the 200 came down. It's finally flat, and we broke above it. So now I would like to see it come down and make a support at this 200. So that's going to be my next target to the downside would be that 181.30. Could possibly break below, but I doubt it. But if it did, it would be that 179. But that 181.30, or really like that, 181.40 is where the gap fill was. That was the hard target that we were looking for. It was a resistance, so now we would like to see it make a support. So watching IWM to see what it does, I like it on a Monday. So if it does not have any more correction, this little tiny itty bitty, you barely see this doji. You're not sure which way it will go, but I like it because it's a really small candle and where it had its support. So we had our TTO here, came back in, and now we need to see who takes control here. So if we did a 2 down, 2 up, and we broke this 185.15, then we can target a nice dollar and some change move on a Monday. And it may, that may be enough correction for it to continue going. Otherwise, it could also just come back down and test this 200. So that's IWM. The Qs are going to look just like NASDAQ. We got a PMG on the week. Oh, you guys, I'm sorry. Let me take this off. I meant to have this. Oh, no. Oh, no. This is not what I'm... okay. This is, oh, that was mine. Okay. I'm sitting here like, why are all these lines here? This is from the indicator. I actually did not realize, or it may have just been added, or I didn't realize it. But you can do support and resistance levels on this indicator now. Again, I may be late. I usually am. But I really like that. So I can put the high and the low of the day, the week, the month. So I don't have to draw it myself, basically. So yeah, so this is the weekly high and low of last week. So I'll be able to see when or if it breaks to the downside. This looks a little bit different from, no, it looks the same. No, because this is green. That's the only difference. But it's still an indecision candle. And we still had a really strong move, and now we have this indecision. So are we going to continue to trade sideways and then move up? or are we going to reverse and try to stake out some of these targets? That's what we're going to be looking for. It looks just like the NASDAQ. Basically a double top here, almost a triple top, and then we got a shooter on the day. So possible rev strat for a Monday play is this 1, 2 up, 2 down rev strat. And then of course your target will be here, this 348.03. So that may be a nice play on Monday if this shooter goes into effect. And then that has been a strong support, but if it does continue down and start taking out some of the targets, my first target is going to be this 333.10 to the downside gap fill. Otherwise, on to the upside, we're still looking at trying to take out this 369.31. I didn't have my things drawn there. Noise. All right, that's where we are. The monthly broad information. And you see it with it. Yeah. So there is the Qs and SPY. Yeah, I think it's because I'm on a different layout. It doesn't have my stuff drawn. Alright, this is where we are at with SPY. People wondering if we can still keep going. Yes, we still do have a little bit of room. We just hit the monthly target, the next monthly target, which was that 432-ish area. So if SPY continues to go, the top of that broadening formation is going to be about 439, 440. And then we have these folks over here where we may want to take out 457, 461. I doubt we're going to get to all-time highs, but the way this market has been moving, you can't say it can't. So 480 will be all-time highs. Let's look at SPY on the year. We're still an inside year. So if y'all wonder why things are kind of choppy and things like that, that means there's no solid direction on the year. Yes, it's green. Yes, we do have full-time frame continuity. Yes, we are in a uptrend, but we're still in an inside year. So we know that that can change at any point in time. So we've hit that next quarter target. The next one, again, is some time to go. So we need some correction. I am thinking that this is probably when we will get that corrective activity before we continue if we want to take out these folks here. So there is not a PMG on SPY, but we do know that if tech does fall, and you know, that's just going to bring SPY down with it. So again, that is our upside targets. We don't have, like, this is not a doji, but it's still the bulls in control here. So if anything, we would need to break 426 to come down. Our monthly support is going to be at that 422, and then we can possibly target 416. But you know, what I've been telling y'all for months on end, that we are above our 200. As long as we stay above our 200, that is the strongest support that we have right now. All of the EMAs are pointing straight up. So if anything, I would just look for some corrective activity before we continue to the upside. We do have a nice shooter on the day after having that, you know, after we took these folks out, we hit the targets. So we may come back down into this chop area, but 2 up, 2 down. The 429 break would get us to 425, and then we could possibly go for this gap fill at that monthly support. Then we do have a couple more gaps to the downside to take out if we do, you know, move. But again, the strongest support is going to be here at this 200. You can even see right here we had a strong double bottom at this 404. So strong support here at this 410. What was resistance here at 418 became support, and it kind of boomed off of there. So those are your supports on SPY. Apple baby. So remember we were talking about Apple outside year? Boom. We hit that. We hit that. So now Apple has made a new all-time high. So where can Apple go from here, right? Again, my drawings is not, it's because of the thing that I'm on. All right. But that is my monthly broadening formation for Apple. So they say, well, can Apple still keep going? It can. It did. It made a new all-time high, so we would expect some correction, right? If for some reason, say the Feds pause and say Apple starts selling a whole bunch of their VR headsets, and I don't know, people just want to keep it on crack, it can still go. All right. The monthly target really would be 200. Apple can go to 200. That would be my next big target for Apple. If you look at it on the weekly, again, okay, I'm on the wrong chart. I apologize, y'all, because I did have these drawn, but I'm on the wrong chart, so we're just gonna draw them while we have it here. But before that, my first target would be 188 before it got to, and then 196, and then 200 would be a psychological target. So, but, would like y'all to notice this. On the monthly, there is a PMG. On the monthly. Keep this in mind. Apple has run since January. It has had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 green months. That's a lot. That's a lot without having some type of correction. And if you look back, at least the last time it did that here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it had this PMG. It did not take all of them out, but it at least had a resting period before it kept going. So I'm thinking that if we don't come back down and start taking these out, we're going to at least do something like that. Like how it did this and then it did a 3. 1, 2. So maybe we'll do that. This 2 may become a 3. And then we can rest here before we continue to go up. And that'll get us to that 196 and then that possibly that 200. So ideally, that would happen because, you know, as you can see, we've just kind of been going straight up. If you draw your line, let's see, your straight up line like that, that's kind of since January, that's kind of the trajectory that we've been on the week. So would be a little bit nice to see a little correction to come down some. But unless it really breaks, so it would need to 2 up, 2 down, 177.18. The little gap fill at 175.24, and then possibly 170.40. Now then it could TTO them folks out here at this 170 and then keep going, but it could also try to take out some of these folks. So keep that in mind. If it breaks through there, it could reverse and give us some relief, like how it did here. But I would be looking first for Apple to possibly do a outside month first before showing that we might actually reverse and have some red activity. So if you look here, Jay may call this creation confirmation, but it's also the start of what looks like a head and shoulders. So if that was the top, then that would be your head, and we are now in the shoulder area. So y'all know I say Apple on a Monday a lot. You got a possible rev strat here, 1, 2 up, 2 down, and your target is going to be that 177.60 area. Of course, this is the chop area, but it could definitely still push down to that. That could be the nice strong momentum it needs to break this support area and start going for that gap at that 175.67. Keep in mind, look at the pattern. Hasn't really broken the 20 in a while. So the most I would give it probably would be that gap fill. And then if it starts to stay under that 20, we got another big old gap here at 167.38. It might want to come forward, but it would have to take out the people at the 170 first, where it's found strong support there. So interesting to see what happened. Again, this could be the start of a head and shoulders, or that could have been the rest, and it can continue to go to the upside. Microsoft. So in relation to how we see that PMG on NASDAQ and the Qs, right? Microsoft might be that one. We do know that Apple and Microsoft move the markets, right? So if Apple finally decides to get its rest period, and now Microsoft has had that 3 that I was just talking about with Apple on the week. I was talking about it with Apple on the month, but Microsoft has had that 3 on the week. So we've had our strong movement to the upside, our TTO, and reversal. So if you look at it on the monthly, we've now formed a shooter on the month after we've taken these folks out. Like it just slightly took those folks out, but it took them out and reversed. So I didn't see. And then Microsoft also has a PMG. We would probably need a lot for us to like just completely turn bearish. And again, remember, we're above all of our EMAs, so I'm not expecting that, but it's something that I just wanted to point out to you guys, because we saw that earlier in the year and was like, oh, maybe PMG, but then it didn't happen. So this could be the time it happens, but hey, then remember, being an inside year, that's exactly what will happen. There's no clear direction for the year. So that means that half the year you could go up and then half the year you could go down. We are at the halfway mark. So it'd be really interesting if we do turn around for the rest of the year and do some correction. So anyway, Microsoft here, outside week. Now that we have this 3, if it breaks 322.65, we can look for it to come down to this 313.30. That would be my first target. And then this 308.91 would be my second target. Now, looking at it on the month, like I said, we hit this target. So I am thinking that this is really going to correct. I mean, if we do continue to the upside, we do have a couple more targets to take out. But again, that 3 to me is showing me that we are going to have a little bit of corrective activity. Just have to determine exactly how much. We do know that we are again above our 200. But if you look at it, it's similar here, this little head here. Okay, so maybe Jay would say creation, confirmation, trade. All right, then we got that 1, 2 up. Almost a shooter, but it's green. So again, if this decides to break down, 322.37, and we do have this gap here at this 317, we want to target our monthly support is at 304, and then we do have a gap here also at this 281.54 that we would look for, and that would still be above our 200, and we would still, for the most part, be in our uptrend because this was the latest swing low. So even if it broke here, like we could have this whole thing could be a head, and this could be the shoulder. So it could be a head, come down, chop right here a little bit, could even fall all the way down to here and still go up. That would make this head and shoulders valid and come down to this 281.83, which would be here. And then that would still make this larger one. Oh no, that actually already played out. So maybe starting the head right here, y'all. Then we also notice that we are right here. We could also be doing this because the last time we hit this area, that's what we did. We hit it, chopped, and fell. So it's possible we may not even fall from here. We might chop inside of here before falling or moving to the upside. So watch Apple, Microsoft, see how they do. Before I get to the sectors, let me take a look really quickly. I had a couple of requests from Robin. If I can find the chats. Here we go. All right. So Robin wanted to look at TQQQ, which is going to look similar to the Qs a little bit. But let's look at this on the monthly. All right, so we do have full time frame continuity so far on the month, and we do still have room to go. So my next target to the upside is going to be 39.22 and then 41.79. If you look here, we got this inverted head and shoulders on the weekly that's basically playing out. And there is a lot of room to the upside if it wants to continue to go. However, we have been running and we have this PMG on the weekly. So if we do turn, because we have this indecision candle, if we do turn, we would need to break, I would say, 34, 36, and then it could possibly start coming down to take these targets out. However, all of these EMAs are pointing up. We have recently crossed the 200 here, and price tried to cross above this 100 and rest. So if it does, I gave you the upside targets. If it does want to continue and find support here, that's what I would be looking for. I would be looking for it to find some support here and then continue to the upside. However, this does look just like the Qs, like I was telling you. So you got this what looks like a head and shoulders here, where it may have some corrective activity. My first target would be this gap fill here at this 30.65, and then a solid support at the 200 would be 28.43. So even if you're buying shares, I would buy shares. I would set my buy order like right here at this 28.43. If you look, it was a strong resistance. Once it broke above this 200 right here, it was a strong resistance. So now I would expect that to act as a strong support because it's at the 200 and it actually hasn't been tested since it broke above. So anything, it may come down and test that before it continues to the upside, but there is still plenty of room for it to go to the upside. We haven't hit that next quarter target, so that would be my first quarter target, 39.33, 61.60. Let's look at it on a year. Yeah, it's still an inside year, so it's not really doing a whole lot. But that is TQQ and then EMPH. I believe I was looking at EMPH. So yeah, we have an inside bar here. So one thing I want to notice, or I want to point out, is that EMPH is stuck inside this huge mother bar right here. So this was such a strong move that this right here is just ironing all of this out, honestly. So, but however, it did do this move, and this may be some of the corrective activity. Now that we have an inside bar and it's in between these EMAs, if it moves to the downside, I would like to see it break 173, and then my target would be 167.25. I think that would be a strong support. If it breaks that, then it can come down to the next one, which would be this 158.30-ish, and then the monthly support at 152.63. Otherwise, to the upside, if it breaks 188.46, it could make it up to about 200. I wouldn't yet target the top of this because, again, that is a huge mother bar. But it does have a gap here to fill if it does want to make it to the upside. If you notice, though, we had this drop. It took these folks out right here, and it has now reversed. So it's not really looking like it's going back to the upside. It would need to do a strong 2 down, 2 up in order to do that. But otherwise, for me, this was just the corrective activity to take these folks out, and now it's going to continue on to the downside. If you look, time frame continuity is red, and it's about to flip on the monthly red. This could actually outside month. So I do like EMPH, honestly. If it reverses and this does a 2-1-2 down, I don't really like it if it goes to the upside, just because, again, it has that mother bar issue, which is really just a gap fill. But for me to fill that gap, it would need some strong news Otherwise, it may just be like a slow, choppy gap like how this is. So I like it better to the downside, especially breaking this and coming on down to this monthly support here, which would be the outside month. So that's EMPH. And then Google is one I also had on my list. I really like Google because of this right here. So, mindful of this chop area right here, okay? We did take these folks out, and now we have a nice shooter on the week. So if we can break this 121, well, really 122 is a strong support. But then 121 will be the weekly break. The target will be about 120. Okay, so Google has a potential outside month. And if you look at it, basically we've had our nice move up, TTO, and we have so far it's forming a shooter on the month. So that's why I like it. And then if you look at it on the weekly, on the 2 week, it has almost hit the outside 2 week target. And we are the second week. We are we are in the second week of the 2 week bar. So that would be my target for this week, would be that 119.86. That would be the first target. And then if it just continues, we would look for this 116.16. And if you look at it on the day, we have our shoulder area, our head. This will be our shoulder. So if we do see any upside movement, I would expect that 126.40 would act as a resistance. Otherwise, it may start going to take these folks out at the 129.20. That would be my upside targets. Otherwise, on the day, if you look, we also have a shooter on the day. Even though it's in between these two EMAs, I don't like trading things under this. So I would really like for it to break that 121.21. And then we can go for that 119.86 target. And then possibly for this gap fill here at this 113. So that would possibly give us some of the corrective activity that we would see also in the Qs and SPY. And then Square. So Square we were looking at because we like this on the monthly. It has not quite hit the target on the month. It has a rev strat here. So if it's going to continue, now the only thing about it is that if the market is weak and it corrects, it would be really hard, in my opinion, for Square to continue to move to the upside unless it has some type of like strong news or something like that. So that would be my targets for it is this 83 though, because that is the rev strat target to the upside if it continues. Okay. However, what we have on the week is not really as strong. So this is not really giving anything right there, but we do know on the month that is our target. Time frame continuity for the most part is green, except for on the day we were red because we rejected this 100 here. Our 200 is still way up here, but that would be the first major target before it could possibly do the rev strat is this 72.70. So if it has the strength to continue to the upside, 72.70 is going to be the first target. And then if it can continue from there, that would be it breaking its 200. And then it can possibly go for the rev strat target. Now, keep in mind, if you look at it, has not broken its 200 in forever. So I think that's going to be, if it does the rev strat target, then that would be a lot. It would be almost a miracle. Again, it would probably have to have some really, really strong news that would send it. But we know that it can definitely come out with that type of strong news. Otherwise, what we have here on the daily is a shooter. So this right here is a mother bar, so it may just work its way back down there. And that would be my strong support, would be that monthly where it broke out at the month, the 62.60. If it makes it down there, let's say 64 first, and then the 62.60 would be the strong support. So interesting to see if it has the strength to either at least take these folks out or try to fill this gap. Otherwise, it may be back in this chop area. We do see strength here though, and we have some EMAs trying to cross though. So have to see if the bulls can step in and save it or not. All right, and then I'm going to go to homework really quick because, no, yeah. We're going to go to ZOM. No, we're going to go to CVX first, and then we do ZOM, and then the sectors. So CVX I like because I was watching it for this possible outside month. So keep that in mind if CVS can hold, because it triggered already, but if it can hold above this 159.54, then it can go to this 168.50 or 168.84, 169 area. So it can do that outside month. If you look at it on the week, it's not really doing too much. It's a doji. But on the 2 week, it did sort of trigger this up. So if it can hold above this one, or if it can break above that 159 and continue to the upside, then we can target that 162.26 first for that 2 week, that ends this week. And then for the monthly, it may go on up to this 169 area. So I really do like CVX for a possible continuation to the upside if it goes. However, would also like to note this rejection right here. You got a hammer and a shooter with the inside bar, so this could also be a decent Monday play. CVX is a 212 to the downside. It will need to break this 158.56, and then your target is going to be 157. Note here that the 8 has crossed the 20. So while it does, unless you know how to trade this range, if it stays in between here, it's in between two EMAs, which I told y'all I don't like to trade. So unless you know how to do that and snatch your profits, I would stay out of it unless it breaks down this direction or does a 212 up and continues to the upside. All right. So that is CVX. ZOM is going to look similar. It triggers the upside, the 50% to the upside at 109.52 if it has the strength. If you look at it on the 2 week, it has not, well, it did trigger it, but it came right back in. So it would need to it would also trigger that 2 week. So it looks exactly like CVX in the sense that the 2 week would trigger the outside month. And then, so your first target with ZOM would be this 111. And then it's going to be 117.40. So I really do like energy plays for a possible move to the upside. But I am aware that on the daily, this is how most of them look. They look like they will trigger. But we do keep in mind that the outside trigger is also a place where people will either short or buy at. So even though it triggered, it can trigger and come right back in. So CVX did trigger and come back in. You notice that. So if it doesn't go back and trigger, I would look for that as being them shorting it. ZOM hasn't triggered yet. Came close. But if CVX falls, ZOM is probably going to fall as well. So you just have to watch it. It's the same thing here. It's in between these EMAs, so I wouldn't touch it unless it does that 312 up, continues to the upside, triggers that 109. You could take it to the 2 week target and then the outside month target. Otherwise, this may be a 312 down, and I would wait for it to break through these EMAs and come on back down. So we are above our 200 here, though, so keep that in mind. Things we are aware of. So before we get to our other sectors, we're going to look at SOXL. Of course, the semi that we watch. I know SMH, a lot of other people watch, but this is a cheaper one. Now, keep in mind that this is a bull one. So, but, I always recommend SOXL to many people. So we finally broke out of this range here, and now we are basically resting. 2506 is the upside target. 26.24. Looking at it on the quarter, we actually hit our quarter target. So this could be the reason for a little bit of the rest, and understand that we have moved a lot. So that's why we're resting. We could possibly be resting for our next leg. We do have a possible Randy Jackson right here, where you got your two up, red, two down, and then possible two up continuation. So if you look at NVIDIA, it looks similar. Randy Jackson, I believe MU. Yep, MU. Let's look at TSM. Yep, and QCOM. Well, not QCOM on the week, but almost everything else, even AMD. So all of your favorite semis have this setup where you have a Randy Jackson where it has had its corrective activity and the bulls bought it back up. So you're going to look for that 2 up on your plays. So you got that 2 down, you're now looking for that 2 up, which would be good for this because it'll be above its EMAs. We are finally above our 200. Keep in mind, this is almost like a cup and handle, for real. So have to see how this acts. Even if it did a 2 up, 2 down, this is still a chop area. They can continue to the upside, or it may come down and actually go for these gaps here. Even if it filled this gap, that would still be about at its 200. So that's kind of what your favorite semis are doing. They look similar. And then your China's. So China has had its corrective activity and now could possibly trigger to the upside. So 2846 would be my upside trigger for KWeb. And then the target for this is going to be 3128 if it decides to continue. If you look at it on the 2 week, it has triggered the 2 weeks to the upside and has not quite hit. But then it has room if it decides to continue moving. So watch your favorite China stock to see what they're doing. I believe Baidu is closer to, yes. So Baidu has triggered it triggered it, it came back in, but now it's sitting right at it. So if it continues 135, above this 135, then we're looking for 150 for Baidu. And this isn't, it's no actionable signal there, but there is a rejection there. So if it does continue to the upside, it has regained its 200. So if it continues to the upside, that is our upside targets. And then we do have this gap here that it may want to fill. So I also wanted to point out Ford. Ford has been having a decent quarter. And I say that because if you look at the last few quarters, like the dojis of indecision, after it has, had solid moves like this has been the most crappy price action. So the bulls are really stepping in. And although we are close to the end of this quarter, this may have actually a triple inside quarter where if Ford, maybe with the Tesla news, can really break out, it can really break out. You know that like triple and double inside bars aren't actionable signals, but what we do know about this is that it's been solid consolidation. It's been long-term consolidation, and usually the longer the consolidation, the bigger the breakout. So that's what we're looking for, is for Ford to possibly really truly break out. So it really needs to get above 1460. That's going to probably be the next strongest resistance that it's going to have. And then it can make its way towards this 1665. So keep Ford on your watch list. It has again finally broken above its 200 for the first time since February. Last time it broke above, though, it immediately got back down and could not hold. This one, the price action is a little bit different. So we have to just really see if it holds it. really. That support's going to be at that 1280. But Ford may actually keep going. We also know, I believe it was GM that signed the deal with Tesla. So they also have been moving strong. However, they just rejected their 200. So um, keep watch on those. So really quickly, let's just look over the weeklies. I was looking at the sectors earlier, and a lot of them don't have weekly actionable setups. It's one of those things where, if anything, you should probably see how the week starts setting up if you want to play those specific sectors. But I did give the sectors that I like. Um, XLE, XLI, and XLF are going to be my favorites this week, and basically just pick your, in that order, and just pick your favorite from those, and find your favorite player with your favorite setup, and trade that. So yeah, so here looking at XLY, we broke above. We got basically no type of, it's just the bulls are in control. Consumer discretionary, the bulls are still in control. We do still have some upside targets here, 167.32, and then the swing high at 175-ish. And then we can find some support at this 154.03. XLC also been just basically moving, broke out here. Upside targets are going to be this 67.74, and then 71.73 would be the swing high there. And then we don't, is this a PMG? 1, 2, not really. But if it did correct, my first target would be a 61.39, and then 59.80. These are still above their 200. See? So if anything, again, just like I've been saying for the most part, I'm bullish as long as these stocks are above their 200. Yes, we may have corrective activity. We may correct all the way to the 200. But for the most part, I'm bullish. So XLK, that's going to be tech. It's going to look just like NASDAQ and the Qs. We basically took out these folks, resting, and now deciding if it's going to come back down or not. Is there a PMG here? No. But there is a possible Randy Jackson here. So it can continue to the upside and start taking out these folks, or it can come down. There is no actionable signal there on the week, though. However, on the day, there is a possible rev strat. It would just need to break through this, and then we might start seeing it come down and fill these gaps. So that's when I do like XLK, if it does reverse there. XLE, remember, I like that because most of them have triggered or are about to trigger their outside months. So if they do continue to the upside, I like them for upside plays. Otherwise, they could be shorted and continue to the downside because they have basically been shorted a lot. The same thing with XLF. The reason I like it is to possibly break this out. Keep in mind this right here, we're trading inside of this mother bar for XLF though. So if it can find some strength, maybe this week, whatever data the banks may like it, then it may be able to break out to the upside. So we'd have to see. I'd like to see it break out of this range here though and start moving more to the upside. Keep in mind though, the XLF stocks are still below their 200 though. So even though I want to see it break to the upside, I am mindful that, it could still definitely be shorted because we're still under those. XLU utilities had a decent week last week. If you look at it on the monthly, it's not doing anything. So, again, there's no actionable signal for me there. And it's in between all of these EMAs, so I don't really like it. XLI, we were talking about last week because we finally broke out of this range right here. There's still a little bit more room to go to the upside, and we have triggered the rev strat on the month. So I'm still looking for 104.19 here. So your favorite XLI stock may still have some room to go to the upside. And again, we have broken above our 200 in our holding. So looks decent. XLV, not really much going on here. If it has enough strength, possible 2 up, 2 down, but not really something that's interesting to me. It's not doing anything on the monthly, and we are still below our 200. So XLP, Again, same thing, not really doing anything. The only reason I would like this is if it decided to reverse to the upside, kind of like how it did right here. It does that. And then I would take it back up to that monthly target. But I mean, if anything, actually, I would take it to the 75 first because they could possibly short it there, and I doubt it would do double inside months back to back. So not really anything there for me. XLRE, same thing. It's kind of stuck in this area right here, so it's not really doing much. Oh wow. So it's not really doing much. We need to see it break above this 38 for more upside, or it could possibly two up, two down, come back down to this 35. XOP, same thing, although oil and gas are doing a little bit better. XOP, I didn't really like any of the stocks in this ETF, but I do like this, where this is a possible rev strat. So if it finds some strength, this may be able to get to 141.96. So I would probably actually play the ETF if you didn't know how the stocks work. But it'd be nice if it's broken above that range, it came back in. If it can break above again and see some more upside, then that would be good. That means it would also break above this 200 and actually possibly hold. Jets, I was talking about airlines last week, and again, they have broken out. If you look at them on the monthly, they have triggered their monthly. This also was, I don't think this was a rev strat. No, it wasn't. But it did trigger the monthly to the upside, so we do still have some room to go. So look at your favorite airline because it may want to take out that next swing high. And they should have broken above their 200 and so far are holding. Oh, we already looked at KWeb. So and then lithium and battery. This is another one that could possibly break out, but it needs to break through this 64.37. And then it has a double inside month here that it may want to really boom. So, I mean, they just may rotate some money in there if they take it out of tech. So just things you want to just be aware of. And then last but not least, we do have a few outside things I wanted to show you. ZOM has triggered the outside quarter. So remember I said it triggered the outside month. It's kind of in conflict right now. It can go either way. But I did want to point out that it has triggered the outside quarter. So if it gets shorted and it wants to continue to the downside, then that 98.02, it could possibly make it there by the end of this month. That would be the outside quarter for that. And then it may even continue down for the next quarter. However, if it does not do that, because remember, outside triggers are also places where they buy and short. That could be this area where they really want to buy it up and they want to send it back up to do an outside month. So it could definitely go either way. I think this 109.52 is going to be a really, really, really strong area to watch. If it gets shorted from there, then buy some time and go ahead and short it back down to this quarter target. I mean, looking at it, it looks like it wants to come down, but you never know. A real good indication would be a 2 up, 2 down on the week to continue going, or even this 3-1-2 down to trigger the 2 down on the week, and that'll let you know that it should still keep going to that 98. Then ones that have not triggered yet but are possible are Roblox. 38.19 is the trigger for that. SO 72.41 is the trigger for that. CVX, we talked about that already. And then these are ones that are in force. PEG, P-E-G, is so far in force. Macy's is almost done. It has probably about 80 cents left. And then Johnson & Johnson is sitting right at the trigger. So this could go either way, but things we wanted to be aware of. So that is it. That is all I have for you guys this week. I hope you guys have a wonderful week and trade safe again with all this data out here. Um, and yeah, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.